I originally intended to bring you a video on the Pommern today, but I just don't quite have the game for it. Instead, I have this game, a classic tragedy in World of Warships Legends that I propose to analyze and tell you, I suppose, exactly why we lost. It has not much to do with me and a lot more to do with my teammates, I'm sorry to say, and I don't think I'm mistaken when I say that. Although, if you think I play this game terribly, feel free to let me know in the comments. My goal here is not to disparage anybody or insult their intelligence or say they're bad players or bad people or anything like that. I just want to point out mistakes as I see them. If you disagree with me, fine. But let's just get into the analysis right now, and you can let me know your thoughts in the comments section. We spawn in the center of this map. There's a Shimakaze spawned on the Charlie flank, a friendly Shimakaze that is. Looks like he's going to play Charlie, so we decide we need to play either Alpha or Bravo. We don't need to go into the same place as the other destroyer. We need to spread out, try to gather intelligence data, and maybe try to take a cap. We're not exactly sure what we're going to do as of yet. We're just sort of heading toward Alpha. We picked up the Yamato, and then we spot, or somebody spots, a Des Moines. Now, I know from looking at the team roster that Des Moines is in a division with Where Are You Aaron, fellow CC, and the Bravo cap is turning red. That means Aaron is probably inside the Bravo cap, so I open fire on the Des Moines. This is a tried and true tactic I've developed in the Khabarovsk. Oftentimes, if a capture circle is being taken by a destroyer that's stealthier than you simply shoot at that destroyer's teammates, you get spotted, and then oftentimes the destroyer will shoot at you, revealing his position and allowing you to reset him in the cap and potentially even sink him. Of course, since the destroyer in the Bravo cap is Aaron, he's not going to do that. Aaron is too smart of a player to do that. He wanted to take the Bravo cap, but I think he gets radared by my cruiser teammate over there, and he's actually driven from Bravo. So, okay, great, fine. This means we're going to play Alpha instead. The Alpha cap is also turning red. That means the other enemy destroyer is in there. We're taking some fire from the minnow in the smoke screen behind Alpha. There's also a Conqueror there. So we're going to silence our guns for the moment and push into the Alpha cap to contest it. Almost certainly, the destroyer inside of it is going to outspot us, but it's then that our Des Moines teammate radars the destroyer. It's a gearing, he smokes up, and we decide not to shoot at him, which is a point that I think I'll get some criticism for, but let me explain why I'm not shooting. Because if I shoot, I think there's a good chance that Aaron is still in a position to spot me, and if he spots me, the minnow, the Conqueror, and the gearing are all going to shoot at me. They could potentially sink me, but certainly they would do a lot of damage, and I would not be able to take this capture circle. Taking the capture circle is far more important at this point than dealing any additional damage to the gearing. He's not inside of the capture circle, he's been driven out. There have only been, 4 minutes that have elapsed in this game, and already, I direct your attention to the minimap. Shimakaze is pushing out of Charlie after having taken it straight into a cruiser. He's going to die. Obviously, it's suicidal to push your DD into a cruiser, and the Shimakaze very predictably goes down. I give him a sarcastic well done, and I know we're at a severe disadvantage now that we've lost one of our two destroyers. The enemy team still has both of them, and I think it's safe to assume that both of these destroyers are fairly good players. You never want to die in your destroyer 5 minutes into the match. The goal of every destroyer player in this game right now, if you find yourself not surviving till the end of matches, is start trying to survive till the end of matches. Forget about dealing damage to anything, honestly, if you're playing a destroyer. Just survive. Keep your HP. A full health destroyer at the end of a game can be a deciding factor in whether you win or lose, but if you die instantly, you take away so much potential from your team. I'm the only destroyer left alive, so my initial plan was to go back toward the center of the map, maybe try to get some spotting over there, try to get my guns going on the ships pushing in that way, but my teammates over here were very insistent that I support them in their push, which I'm honestly not inclined to do. I don't think it's a good idea to take a Des Moines and two battleships and push them into the Alpha cap straight toward the enemy's spawn 5 minutes into the game when everybody's still alive. Nevertheless, I'm going to do it in the hopes that the Des Moines will be able to spot the gearing again, and take out the minnow. And maybe I can help with that, and we can actually clear this flank and then get a good position in pushing in toward the enemy in the center of the map and on the eastern side. Unfortunately, this just doesn't pan out. The gearing is going to manage to get away, and my teammates are not going to be able to take out the minnow very quickly. I kind of still think the gearing is on this section of the map, so that's why I'm heading this way. We see torpedoes, so we're going to turn to dodge those. And I think at this point we make our decision to just start heading back toward Bravo anyway. We're dealing some minor damage to the minnow. It's ultimately pretty inconsequential. Our teammates are doing a decent job of whittling him down, and he gets taken out. So we see the gearing again. We're going to shoot at him in a second. I don't honestly know why we shot at the Yamato first. I did notice the gearing. But now we're going to open fire on him. He's on about half health. We might be able to take him out, provided we can get some good shots and he remains spotted. We do get 2 fairly chunky hits into him, but he manages to go dark, and obviously we're not going to pursue him. There's still 9 minutes left to go in this game, and we cannot push toward the gearing. Why not? Well, because there's a radar cruiser behind that island over there, a Des Moines. And if we push straight in, we can easily get radared by that Des Moines, and then we'll have the gearing, the Yamato, the Des Moines, and probably every other ship on the enemy team to shoot at us, so we simply can't push in yet. And our flank on the Charlie cap has predictably collapsed with the death of the Shima. The 2 battleships that were over there were not able to cut it. They've both gone down, and we've lost complete control of all of the map except for this alpha flank. So my friendly Yamato here is pushing forward. He's able to take out the enemy Yamato there, and that's great. But this is sort of where the turning point comes. What do I and the rest of my team do now? We have control of the alpha flank, the enemy has control of the rest of the map, and, well, we're pretty even on points. Actually, we're ahead on points, and we're even on kills. At this point, we need to all go forward toward the eastern side of the map, but we need to do so carefully, especially if we're in our battleship or cruiser. My teammates are not going to do that, however. They're going to play the way that I think battleship players typically do, and they're not going to make good use out of their ships. I hate to say it, I don't mean to be mean when I say that, but this Yamato in front of me is going to be the best example of that. He's pushing straight in toward the Bravo cap. This is a mistake for a number of reasons. And all those reasons are the ships near the Bravo cap. There's a GK over there, there's a Des Moines behind that island, and there are 2 battleships that are inside of Charlie pushing toward Bravo, plus Aaron is somewhere, maybe to the south of Bravo, we're not quite sure. So what we would like to see this Yamato do is continue the turn he is making. We would like to see him not perhaps shoot his guns. I don't know if Aaron is maybe spotting him, so he doesn't feel like he can turn out, but he's at pristine full health. If he were to turn north and continue going that way further into the enemy spawn, he'd be able to get around that island. That GK and that Des Moines behind the island have no health. He is a Yamato. He'd be able to kill them very quickly, and if he could do that, he could essentially take their position and push from the north straight toward Charlie with the friendly Des Moines behind him. Now, if he did that, because of the Yamato and the other enemy battleship being between Charlie and Bravo, they're not quite there yet, but they will be, he could potentially get a flank on them. Meanwhile, the battleship on the south side of Alpha, sort of behind me, he can sort of stay in his position. Aaron's right there in front of him. He obviously doesn't want to push into Aaron, but he can just sort of stay there if the friendly Yamato were to do what I just described. Instead, that Yamato elects to enter the capture circle. Keep in mind he was on pristine full health when this engagement started, and he is now going to die. Why is he going to die? Well, it's easily predictable as to why he's going to die. He's pushing bow in toward 2 battleships, and there's also a Daring that is in range to farm him with HE. Thus, he is pushing bow in to superior numbers. I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys this in battleship videos that I make, but bow tanking in your battleship is not the virtue you think it is. It is not a sound tactic when you are facing superior enemy numbers. In fact, it is always a mistake. No matter what battleship you're in, In fact, no matter what class of ship you're in, if you push bow in to superior numbers and you just stop and sit there, you will be focused to death, just as that Yamato was. And of course, his presence in the cap made it so that we couldn't take the cap, and now the GK is reversing into it, so we have to leave the cap. He kept getting reset while we were in the cap, and thus we just weren't able to take it. We have to run away now. And since that Yamato is dead, our best chance of winning this game is dead. We now only have 3 ships left, and the battleship behind me isn't exactly in pristine, healthy condition, and the Des Moines is just charging straight toward that GK, so he's gonna die. Aaron starts shooting at me, so obviously I'm gonna shoot back at him, but we've lost the game at this point. Prior to entering the Bravo cap, this game was winnable. We just needed to see some better positioning from our battleship teammates, and we also needed to see the Shimakaze not die 4 minutes into the game. We probably would have had a good fighting chance for that. Ultimately, I'm pretty good in the Khabarovsk. There are going to be people out there, probably people in this game, who think the reason we lost this game is because I'm playing the Khabarovsk. No, incorrect. You'll see that on the stats page. I'm going to get nearly 2,000 base XP, and to be fair, I'm not going to do an impressive amount of damage, and I haven't exactly done the most useful damage yet. That's about to start happening now as I shoot at Aaron. We're going to pretty much deal all of Aaron's HP and damage to him before this game is over. That's obviously worth a lot of XP. We solo capped Alpha. We provided a fair bit of spotting for our teammates, and we would have probably solo capped Bravo as well if our teammates, if that Yamato hadn't pushed into it with us. If he'd gone around and taken out the GK and the Des Moines, which I don't think he would have had any problem doing, I think we might be in a better position to win this game. But as it stands, we're not. And of course, I know the Yamato player. He is a viewer of this channel. If you see his name in the comments section, don't give him any grief or anything. I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just trying to point out what I see as mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, Aaron shooting at me with my torpedoes coming toward him. I guess I sort of understand it. Maybe you don't expect Khabarovsk torpedoes. And hey, they are very, very stealthy indeed, and they do hit fairly hard. They are going to be lethal for Aaron. It's not going to be immediately clear, but Aaron has used his damage control party on something, either maybe one of the fires I lit on him or one of the modules I took out. So when that torpedo catches him on likely the bow and causes a flood, he doesn't actually have his damage control party up, and the flood is going to be lethal. So even though we're going to lose this game in a pretty terrible fashion, we are going to get a little bit of a moral victory there. And you can say that I did that damage to Aaron, which is very valuable damage in terms of XP, after it was already too late. But it was already too late because my teammates played poorly, essentially. I'm sorry to say that. I don't want to sound like arrogant. I don't want to make anybody feel bad about themselves. I just want to point out the things I see as mistakes. And at this point, while Aaron is dead, we've got 3 enemy ships left. There's a snowball's chance in hell that we might be able to win this game. We know the Des Moines is on low health. In fact, he was on such low health earlier that we were winning the gunfight against him, and he elected to go dark so we wouldn't sink him. We could maybe push in and YOLO these battleships, but we just don't have enough time left on the clock. So we are going to lose this game. There's no way we can win. We didn't do an impressive amount of damage, to be sure, but we did valuable things for our team. We took the cap, but ultimately we're just one player, and we need to see our teammates engage in a little bit better positioning and think about their HP and their participation in the game. If you want to get better at this game, I've got 2 pieces of advice for you. Well, really 1 piece of advice to begin with. No matter what class you play, try to stay alive for the entirety of the game. Make that your goal. If you can master that, then you can build on top of that. A ship who survives for the entire battle is going to be more valuable than a ship who dies within the first 5 minutes, even if they don't do a lot of damage, even if they don't take a lot of caps. But hey, nearly 2,000 base XP on a loss, I think demonstrates that I played my part at least. And I hope you weren't too offended by my criticism if you happen to be in the game with me. Let me know what you think about my analysis. If you disagree with me, by all means, say it in the comments section, start a debate, just be civil, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.